you know about retro ghetto? Collecting and playing retro. Lock into the retro ghetto.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Retro Ghetto. So I've decided to do this video today for a couple of different reasons. One is that the cost of living crisis here in the UK doesn't look like it's going away anytime soon. And if you're like me, you don't just want to buy video games, you need to buy video games. So I thought I'd look at some great games that maybe have gone a little bit under the radar that are still available very, very cheap. Also, the other day I was in a very well-known supermarket buying a meal deal and it was no longer £3. And that got my brain thinking, well, what can you still buy for £3 in the UK? It turns out some fantastic games. Obviously I could have gone down the route of telling you guys about all the Gears of Wars and Halos and Uncharted games which are available in your local CEX for less than £3, but at this point you've either played them, you own them, you certainly know about them, so there's no point. I'm going to try and tell you about some games that have gone a little bit more under the radar, and if you can come away with just 1 or 2 games from this list of 10 that you can go away and buy for less than £3, it's a win-win.
Oh, hi there. What am I doing? Well, you know that the lighting's usually perfectly adequate on my videos. I thought I'd play around with it, so enjoy that big streak of light that's down the middle of this video.
And of course guys, we're going to be using the pricing of CEX as the guide, so we're going to be looking at everything that's £3 and under on their database right now as of time of recording this video. The reason being is it just makes things a lot easier. Most of you guys have got a CEX near to you, so you don't have to worry about postage costs. And equally, it's a very good barometer for where the prices are, so even if you haven't got the access to go to a CEX, go on eBay and the vast majority of these games will be very, very cheap there as well. So we're going to kick things off with Red Steel 2. This game was described by Ubisoft as a first-person brawler, and what more do you need to say other than you play as a cowboy samurai? I think the release of the first game, Red Steel, which, whilst at the time I enjoyed it because I was desperate for some more adult content, shall we say, on the Nintendo Wii after playing Wii Sports to death, looking back, it has not aged well at all. I think that might have been to the detriment of Red Steel 2, and they might have even been better off just renaming it, because this game is fantastic. They went with a cel-shaded art style here, which definitely complements the Nintendo Wii and has held up fantastically to this day. The atmosphere on this game is brilliant, the combat is immersive and exactly what you want it to be from a Nintendo Wii using the Wii Remote. There's like a quite in-depth tutorial that you have to go through at the start of the game, which will force you to learn all the combos, etc. And it really does stand you in good stead for knowing what you're going to do, because there's nothing worse than getting into one of these games, swinging your nunchuck around aimlessly and just thinking, what am I doing here? Thankfully that does not happen with this game. Definitely went under the radar, as I say, because the first game was somewhat dubious. But this is definitely a game you don't want to be missing out on. It's just £3 at the moment in CEX. Go and grab it. Next up, and also costing just £3, is Rise Son of Rome. I've spoken about this game once before on a Hidden Gems video that I did. I'll put the link in the description below in case you haven't seen that. But this game is just amazing. It's like a AAA title. It's some of the best graphics you will ever see on any system, right? Hands down, I stand by that statement. It was a launch title on the Xbox One, and for some reason it just went under the radar. I think it might have done better on different platforms. I don't know if the Xbox consumer base is maybe more focused on online play and different genre of games. Maybe this game would have been better suited to a PlayStation or something like that. But this is an amazing game. It's very immersive. It doesn't outstay its welcome. It's not overly long for long's sake. It's just about the right amount of time. The story is very good, and the combat is, whilst it is very samey, it's so enjoyable that it doesn't become dull or boring. You're basically hacking and slashing away through hordes and hordes of enemies, and there's also quite a lot of quick time events. Quick time is one of the things that's not for everybody, but they do it very well in this game. For all intents and purposes, this is a AAA, very well polished game with a great storyline. It's £3. If you haven't played it, do so. Next up is a game that I've spoken about a few times on this channel, and I will not apologise for mentioning it again, and that is WWE 2K14. I've picked this up at charity shops up and down the country. CEX sell this on the 360 for £3, and it's only £4 on the PS3, so, I mean, I don't think it's going to break the bank, even though it does cost more than a meal deal. Just about, depending on where you go for your meal deal. But yeah, don't dismiss this as just another sports game or just another wrestling game. I didn't enjoy a wrestling game from, you know, since the N64 era, when I was playing multiplayer with my friends and back then WrestleFest and those kind of games. But when I picked this up, I decided to give it a go, and the reason this game is so good is the 30 years of WrestleMania mode. So whether you enjoy watching wrestling now as an adult, or you had that golden era as a child, or like me, you'd love the Attitude Era when you're coming into your teenage years, this game's got something for you, because it spans the whole 30 years of WrestleMania. And you have to replay the incidents as they happened at those events. So it'll give you a bit of background information, you'll get videos, you'll get the story, you'll get the build up to it, and then you'll have to win the fight in the way that it happened at that actual WrestleMania. It's so much fun. There's also like a beat the streak mode, so there's all of the Undertaker's fights on here that he had throughout his WrestleMania unbeaten streak. There really is something for everybody in this game. And more importantly, the gameplay is quite fun. It is a bit of a steep learning curve. It took me a little bit of time to get used to it. It's very much reversal heavy, and you have to get your timing exactly right. But once you get the timing down, there's a lot of fun to be had with this game. And as I say, it's £3. Right, next up is quite a popular franchise, but I believe this is one of the ones that went a little bit under the radar. And for me, it's one of the best in the franchise, and that is Need for Speed The Run. Outside of the first couple of Underground games, I think this is the best Need for Speed game that they ever released. I mean, basically, you're on the run from the mafia. There's beautiful women. You're going from one side of America to the other, and I like that fact. It's not just going around in circles. It's not just sort of aimless races for the sake of driving around the city. You actually go from one side of America to the other side of America. I won't go into the story in too much depth to spoil it for you, but as I say, the mafia are after you. There's a reason you've got to get there first to win the prize money to then pay off the mafia. There's beautiful cars, beautiful women. I mean, what's not to like? This next game. Right, I'm going to talk about this in more depth when I finally put out my games completed video. I think I've completed like 12 games thus far this year. I'm going to put that video out soon. Why did I not play this game before? This game, I absolutely fell in love with it. And I've started telling everybody that I see. I'm walking out and about, you know, I'm seeing old ladies taking the dogs for the walk, and I'm telling them, you've got to play Max Payne 3. I mean, did you guys know about this game? Is it just me that missed out on it? My Max Payne journey was a bit like, when I was younger, I had the original Max Payne game, and, you know, at the time it was like, you know, built up massively as this big release, and I enjoyed it, but it was very dark, very macabre. There was like babies crying, and I remember that like annoying levels where there was like a trickle of blood and you had to stay on it without falling off, and I was probably a bit young for it at the time, and you know, it didn't resonate with me, so to speak. So I didn't have too much high expectations for Max Payne 3. Wow, let me tell you, as I say, I'm going to talk about this in more depth when I do release my video games completed, but amazing. It's one of the best games I've played for a long time. The storyline, the gameplay, everything about this game is fantastic. I'm not going to tell you exactly what I'll give it out of 10. I'll save that for the next video. But let me just say, if you have not played this game, you have to play it. It's £3 on the Xbox 360. Skip your meal deal. Buy this game.
Retro Ghetto.
Project Gotham Racing 4. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Callum, you said at the start of the video, you're only going to show us games that didn't sell in the millions and franchises that aren't as well known and went under the radar. I did. But if there's one person watching this video that has not played Project Gotham Racing 4, this is for you. Thank me in the comments. I believe this is one of the best racing games ever made. It's so much fun. It's got a perfect blend of arcade style pick up and play racing while also having an in-depth career mode. It's got cars, it's got bikes, the visuals hold up to this day. This is the last Project Gotham racing game in the series that then turned into Forza, but this game is so much fun. It's £3. If you're that one person watching that hasn't played this game, sort it out.
Retro Ghetto.
Right, another game that I very recently completed, so I will talk about in more depth on that video, Darksiders 2. I love this game so much, I went and bought the collector's edition with the mask and everything. This is just a physical embodiment of how much I enjoyed my time with this game. This game is badass. You play as Death, and basically it's very much a hack and slash with some puzzle platformer elements. Think akin to some of the earlier God of War games. Very polished, great voice acting. In every sense, very much a AAA title. There's so much customizable options with your weapons and your outfits, or should I say your armor? Outfit. Oh, I've been playing too many of them Barbie games. Yeah, very much customizable with your weapons and your armor, and it's just got everything that you could want. I mean, you play as Death, you kill everybody in sight. It's turned me from a skeptic to a believer. I've since bought pretty much every Darksiders game in the franchise. I'm currently working my way through, playing through them all because of this game. Darksiders 2, do not overlook it. Also, it's £1 on the Xbox 360 and £1.50 on the PlayStation 3. What else are you going to do with the pound?
Is he the end of man or the beginning?
This next game is one that I was shocked to see is just £1.50 on both the 360 and the PlayStation 3. It's the game that got me back into gaming to some extent after I had a lull when I was, you know, found women and other things in life that were damaging my brain cells. This game pulled me back in.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
And that is Sleeping Dogs. Wow, what a game. I thought all games were this good, right? I randomly bought, I've told this story many times, I randomly bought God of War 3 and Sleeping Dogs, having had no prior research into them, and they were two of my favourite games to this day.
To this day! To this day!
No wonder I fell back in love with gaming, and I'm sitting in front of 1,000 video games now, right? This is the best non-GTA, GTA-style game I've ever played. That's the biggest compliment I can pay to this game. If this was a Grand Theft Auto game, it wouldn't be out of place. It wouldn't be a miss within the series. It's the first game that I thought really homed in on making every single facet of the game a game within itself. The combat is good enough to be a combat game. The shooting is good enough to be a shooter. The driving element is good enough to be a racing game. Everything became a mission, everything became a task. So where some games it might be mundane to drive from point A to point B, in this game you get a timer that comes up and you're trying to beat your own time of not hitting anyone or not having a bump. Yeah, everything about this game was just fantastic. There was loads of DLC, which I played through that as well. This is one of the few games that I suppose you'd call it platinumed it by today's words. I got every single collectible, every outfit, everything in the game. I did this game to death. Absolutely fell in love with it. The setting is amazing. It plays in Tokyo. Great voice acting, great characters. I could talk about this game all day. I'm not going to. Just go and buy Sleeping Dogs if you haven't already. Right, so the last couple of games, I'm going to cheat a little bit. These games are £3.50. I know, I'm sorry. 50p over. But I had to put these games on the list. First one is Rare Replay, which is an Xbox One exclusive. I can't explain this game any better than the back of the box. Inspiring worlds, beloved characters, unforgettable fun. Rediscover 30 hit games with Rare Replay. Attic Attack, Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, Banjo-Tooie, Battletoads, Battletoads Arcades, Blast Corps, Cobra Triangle, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Digger T Rocked, Grabbed by the Ghoulies, Gunfight, Jet Force Gemini, Jetpack, Jetpack Refueled, Killer Instinct Gold, Nightlore, Lunar, Perfect Dark Zero, RC Pro-Am, RC Pro-Am 2, Saber Wolf, Slalom, Snake Rattle and Roll, Solar Jetman, Viva Pinata, Trouble in Paradise, plus more. Guys, it's £3.50. Did you hear all those games, right? There's 30 plus games on here. The only sad thing is that there's no Donkey Kong or GoldenEye games for licensing reasons. But guys, 30 games for £3.50. I mean, there's no reason not to own this, right? And not only that, if you're like me, you're not a huge N64 fan. I know some of you are, it's just not for me. I didn't grow up with it, right? When we got an N64, that to me meant the SNES was mine. My brother was busy playing Ocarina of Time, right? I got the Super Nintendo to myself, so I don't have the nostalgia for N64. Don't hate me for it. But this means that people like me that don't collect N64, there's a lot of those great titles on here. The Banjo-Kazooie games, for example. So yeah, again, £3.50, it's a must-own. Right, and the last game, again, £3.50, Dante's Inferno. When this game was released, I think it was criticised for being a bit of a God of War 3 clone. I don't see it as a criticism, I see that as a compliment, and for me that was a reason to play it. It's not quite as polished as something like God of War, and there's not as much character depth with Dante as there is with Kratos, but again, that's no surprise, right? For me, God of War 3 is one of the greatest games ever made. This game is fantastic, very dark, again, very macabre. You're going through the depths of hell. Some of the enemies you will see on this game, you will never forget. Some of the darkest, most twisted shit you can imagine, right? You'll be seeing some of the video on screen there. Crazy. But a very, very, very enjoyable playthrough. Very responsive game, which is exactly what you want with what is effectively a hack and slash game. Yeah, very much a game that you need to pick up. I overlooked it. But yeah, Dante's Inferno, £3.50. Right, so that's it guys, 10 games for £3-ish, and I hope that there's a couple in there that maybe you guys haven't played, maybe you can go and pick up for cheap, and yeah, get hours and hours of fun without spending a lot of money, because it is hard times out there, and we all know it, we're all feeling it, and if we could keep buying games without breaking the bank, and we don't actually have to lie to our missus about the price, because she'll always ask me, how much was that? You knock a bit off, don't you, right? But yeah, you actually be honest, it was £3, it was £3, love. So yeah, I hope you guys take 1 or 2 games from here. Please let me know in the comments if you are going to pick any of these up, or if you have picked any of these up as a result of this video, because that's what this is all about. If you've enjoyed it, let me know. I can always do another one of these videos, because, you know, I could do a £4 one, I could do a £5 one. So many games out there. I know the CEX app back to front. I've got loads of games on my shelves that I couldn't quite put in this list because they were £4 or £5, so there's definitely scope to do a follow-up to this video if you guys enjoyed it. As always, play your games, keep it retro. Appreciate you watching, take care.
Retro Ghetto.